Hi, YouTube. I'm back. How are you? I hope everybody's doing wonderful. I'm back again. I believe this is part three. I did an introductory video, then I did part one, then I did part two, and I believe this is part three of my video of my series of. I'm gonna have to learn how to put this in I guess a group or a trailer of videos so that way the next one will play after the next one. And it may say up next. I'm not sure when you watch the first video. So, hi everybody. What? This is a great day, great evening. I'm live in Illinois. My name is Lenita Sterling. It's Lenita, and I'm back to talk a little bit more about my journey growing up in the Jehovah Witness organization. And I believe my last video I talked about being in high school and when I became a baptized witness and why I became one. And then went to the got to the end where I was what they call disfellowship. And so I think I'm gonna start from there. So yes, I was disfellowship at the age of 19 for something that happened a whole year ago, which was the age of 18. And because of the fact that I said one of my sisters, she got pregnant right before she graduated high school, and it was said that we were supposed to protect her or know or tell on her if she was doing anything, but I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. So the end of the matter was that because of that, um, a lot of my family members, aunts, cousins or whatever, we all around the same age. And so, of course, we shared stories with each other. And so I believe the last thing I said was that I had to go to what they call the elders of the congregation and report myself for what I had done. And so the thing about it was I was repenting about what I did, and I was not involved in it anymore. And again, I think I mentioned that if you wanted to actually find out what it was, you can read my book. It's in my book. I have it on Amazon. It's a Kindle. You can get it as an ebook, or you can buy it as a hard copy, or what is this? Soft cover. Okay. It's called "Free from the Bondage of the Watchtower" from an ex-witness perspective, and my name. Type it in on the Amazon search under books, and if you just type in free bondage watchtower, then my books should come up. Okay, I had my first book I wrote in 2012, or published it in 2012, and then I revised it in 2013. Yeah, revised it, and I think I know I added a little more. I was a little more detailed in the 2013 edition, revised edition, and I made a few, changes grammatically, edits and things of that nature because it was my first book, and I did write it myself and I did edit it myself. So, I did get comments about people saying I didn't know how to write and this, that, and the other, which I mean, is understandable, and it's a learning lesson. So the next book that I write, I will use um, a publishing company to help me with the book. Okay. So the next thing, as a matter of fact, I can actually go in my book because I'm kind of drawing what happened to me. Okay, wow, is this fellowship? Okay, and I think I was trying to explain what it meant to be disfellowship. So my sister was a year and a half younger than me. She was disassociated. At that time, disassociation and disfellowshipping was the same thing. It was basically you get treated the same way because a person who disassociated is one that person who did not get baptized as a witness. A person who's disfellowship is one who did get baptized as a witness, but they treated them the same. That was part of the rules and the regulations to treat them the same. So, so when she got disassociated, no one could talk to her. She couldn't talk to anybody at the hall, at the Kingdom Hall, which we call the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so she, was ousted, in other words. And during this time, my family was about to move to another state. And this was actually before I was disfellowship. So my sister was disassociated first, and then I was disfellowship maybe a few months after her. And so we both were basically the children, in the hall that were like looked down upon as the bad girls in the group. And, we just basically were, hold on 1 minute. I'll be right back. I'm back. Check on make sure I was plugged in, right? My earring just fell out. This is what happens when you go live. You have to make sure everything is in shape, tip-top shape. Okay, so my that earring back on. It's not like y'all can see it. Oh, yeah. Still dropping. I'm just gonna leave it off. So anyway, now I forgot where I left off. I said that my sister, I was disfellowship. She was disassociated, and then so we were kind of like, they considered us as the bad girls of the hall because they really didn't know us. They only looked at us as we were fairly nice looking girls at the hall, and a lot of the young boys we didn't like throw ourselves at anybody. We were not those type of girls. So anyway, to make a long story short, so eventually I that's why I want somebody can talk to me while I'm on here. Any of my subscribers listening? Anybody? Oh, okay. All right. I think I should be able to say something. Live chat. Yay, we got live chat here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So anyway, I like that. Oh, that's just like being on Periscope or on Facebook when you can type. Well, Periscope you can't really type; you just talk. But on this is oh man, I'm really enjoying being on this YouTube live. Anyway, so let me get back to what I was talking about. So anyway, so as a disfellowship person, I didn't have the right to speak to anybody. They were not supposed to speak to me. So whenever I went to the hall, I had to go all the way to the back and sit in the back of the hall and just listen and have nothing to say. Don't speak to nobody. Nobody speak to me. And at first it was like, okay, this is the right thing to do. I have to do this because this is what I believed in. And I can remember hearing about other people that were disfellowship when I wasn't, where I was in, and we used to always turn our nose up at people that were disfellowshipped and like, ooh, and then be whispering, about them being disfellowshipped and, looking at it as a bad thing, and saying, oh yeah, they want to be out in the world and they don't know no better and they, hopefully they'll come back and this, that, and other. So we always had, arrogance about us when it came to people who were disfellowship. So now here it is. I'm now disfellowship. Excuse me. I'm now disfellowship at the age of 19. And so now I'm the person that everybody is whispering about, but this time they're whispering about stuff that they don't even know. They don't even know what really happened, what went down. All they assume is that oh, I must have been a wild child. I must have did this. I must have did that, and none of it was true. And so uh, eventually, when I stayed, I went to the hall as long as we were still living. The family was still living here in Illinois. But once they moved, I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm not going to go to no hall with nobody to speak to me. I still had, my mother, my grandmother. They still kind of associated with me, but only it was very, it wasn't as like it is now. Because in the beginning, it was I was able to go to her house. I was able to spend a night at her house. My mother, I'm talking about. I was able to, bring my children. Wait, I didn't have no children at the time. This is this is in the beginning. I was able to anyway. I was just able to go still see her while she was in another state. I was able to go see her. But Jehovah's Witnesses organization, they have what they call New Light. Okay, I was supposed to do like this, New Light, which means that they can have one rule one week, and then the next week they'll change it and say God told them to change it. So their new light was that, you could talk to your disfellowship family member, they can be around you, da 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 da, and but you just can't go out shopping with them. You can't have fun with them. They can't have fun with you. But I remember on occasions where we were at family events, I was there, my sister was there, and the family didn't treat us no different. We still, they didn't speak to us, but we still were family and we still were together. Nobody was turning their nose up and acting funny against us at all. And so then there was more new light. Now remember, it was just me and my sister who were considered disfellowship, disassociated from the hall, so nobody could talk to neither one of us. But then it turned out new light came into the picture, and the society, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, that's governed or headquartered in New York. At the time, it was headquartered in New York. This is where the congregation or the hall where they get their information from, or their rules, regulations, what they should do, what they should not do. This is the headquarters. They let them know what we're supposed to believe and not believe. So what happened is they came out with a Watchtower or Awake magazine that said, "Oh, it's okay. We could talk to those who are disassociated, because they never made a dedication. They never dedicated their life to Jehovah by getting baptized. So because they didn't get baptized, it's okay for us to talk to them. You could talk to them. It's okay because they never made that dedication. But the ones who did dedicate their lives, that got baptized, we can't talk to them." And now it even got more strict, where now they can't come to your house. So the ladder, it kept going up and up on what they allowed and what they didn't allow. So at this point, they said, no, we can't. I can't talk to them at all. They can't talk to me. I can't come to their house. So at this point, I'm a little older, and maybe 20, 21. And so even during this whole period, I kind of like was with another family that I called my family, that I kind of adopted. And I had like somebody that was like a mother to me. I had a bunch of sisters, brothers, whatever you want to call it. It was like a whole family that I came into contact with, and I just was, have going with them holidays, whatever came about. I was with this family, and they treated me like I was their family. And so, I was kind of, like their family member for a long time, and it just, they felt like they were my family, and so that's what I did. I stayed when my family moved to another state. I stayed, and I stayed with a couple of family members, and then I stayed with one of those members of the family that I said I was friends of the family, very good, considered a daughter, sister to this family. And then eventually I got my own place. And I'm still, okay, this is right. I'm still 19 at this point because I got my own place at the age of 19, my first studio apartment. I may have mentioned this in my prior video, but got my own studio apartment at the age of 19. And so I was on my own. And but the thing about it was I didn't stay in that apartment by myself all the time. I was always with this family. I always made a way to get to them. I didn't drive. I was always on the bus or the train. And back in those days, it wasn't as bad as it is now. You can get on the bus, you can get on the train, you can get on the catch a cab, and nobody will bother you. And so it was a great time. But at the same time, I still didn't have my family. Even my sisters and brothers. That basically I'm the oldest, and so because I didn't move there, I was the oldest girl. I'm the oldest girl. I didn't move there, so I didn't really have a relationship with none of my sisters. And it's 7 girls in my family, and three boys. 7 girls, 1, 2, 3. It was 7 girls and 4 boys, and I didn't really have a relationship with them because I was the only one that was still here, living here, and my older brother, he was here too, but I didn't really see him a lot because he was doing his thing and I was doing my thing. And so, but when it came time to family events, we did get together. And again, there was no shunning of any kind until after the hall or the society came up with a new rule saying that they can't be nowhere. I could be in their room or in their presence. They can't be in my presence, or I can be in their presence. So me being the person that I am, want to follow the rules, I abided by it. And the reason why I knew about it, because at first I didn't know. I didn't know about it because I'm the one that's disfellowship. So who's going to tell me about these rules? One day I was with my uncle and my brother, and we went over to my grandmother's house because my grandmother, she moved out in the same state that my mother moved to. And so I go to my grandmother's house with my uncle, and as soon as I walked in the door, she just started screaming and told me to get out of her house. She said that she had to follow what Jehovah told her, and that told me to get out. I mean, she was, at the top of her lungs, told me to get out of her house, and I was like, wow, and it was not a good thing. It was not a good thing, and that's when I found out that I couldn't be in their house anymore. That I was not welcome to go to her house. I was still welcome to go to my mother's house, but I was not welcome to go to my grandmother's house, which is not the immediate family, as they say. So, I couldn't go to her house. And yeah, it was a hurting thing. Very hurt. I was hurt, and what happened is, you sometimes you do a lot of things that self hurt. You deal with a lot of self hurt. You deal with rejection, and then it turns to rebellion. I always I had a lot of parties at my house where I was living at. When I got a little older, I was, it was just like, hey, everybody came to my house to party, and that's just how it was. And I felt like, well, since they tell me, the witness organization tell you that once you're disfellowship, that God doesn't hear your prayers, that Satan is your God, and that's just it. And so I lived my life the way I wanted to live it, because I'm like, well, they say at the end of the world that we're going to all die in Armageddon, all of us that turned our backs on Jehovah or on the organization. And so that's what I believed, and that's how I lived my life accordingly. And I ended up meeting somebody, at the age of 19, and I ended up having 2 children with him. And it was not a real good relationship. You make bad decisions. You make decisions based off of the hurt that you dealt with your family. I believe that if none of this stuff happened, if, again, I even mentioned in my book, if my father took more of a role in the family, we probably wouldn't have been in the position that we were in, even as far as my mother becoming a baptized Jehovah's Witness, because he was in the church, but he, had church hurt, and so that caused him not to really be concerned about anything. He was concerned about us, like when he did come to visit us, Like, are you going to college? Are you going to do this? And so our first thing was, when we was in high school, I'm not going to college because, I'm going to be a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not going to go on to college. I was already baptized. So that was my whole goal, was that I was going to be a Jehovah's Witness. I was going to pioneer. And a pioneer is somebody who just, they go door to door on a regular basis. They live their life doing that, maybe going to the another country where they say serve where the need is great as a missionary, or maybe even go to Bethel, where the Bethel, New York, is where the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society was hosted or headquartered. And so, that was like my goal. I was going to be doing this for life. This at least that's what I thought. And so, I just, that's what I thought. So as the years go by, again, like I said, I met a young man that I thought that he was just the best thing since sliced bread, and really the whole relationship it was not based off of love. It was a relationship based off of lust. And again, I had two sons with that relationship. I was old enough. I had my first son when I was almost 24, and my second one when I was almost 26. And so, and again, I lived with this person I was with for 10 something years, and I put up with all kind of stuff. And again, it again goes back to not having love at home, not having, having rejection. Your family reject you, and so you just feel like you have to put up with any and everything. You put up with it. And then I dealt with self-esteem issues, low self-esteem issues. And that was part of it. A couple of things, I guess I wanted to go over some of the doctrines that they taught, about. Maybe one of them was the blood issue, that you're not supposed to give blood, or you're not supposed to take blood. But if you don't take blood, the reason why you don't take blood is because the Bible says that you should not mingle, do not strangle, something about blood in the book of Acts. And really didn't have anything to do with taking blood to save a life. It was about blood, about the blood of the sacrifices that were going on at the time. And so they were putting an end to that. And then there was something else that they, with the holidays. We don't celebrate Christmas because Christmas is it's a pagan holiday, and plus Jesus wasn't actually born on Christmas. Halloween, you don't celebrate Halloween. It's the devil's holiday, and it's still not of God. It was just a lot of things. And when I became disfellowship, and at the point where I decided that I was not going to follow the religion, I decided I was going to, when I said I was doing any and everything, I would celebrate every holiday there was. I didn't care. I celebrated all of them. I celebrated all of them. And, because I wanted to see what it felt like, because I didn't get a chance to celebrate this as, growing up. And so I enjoyed, celebrating those holidays, and even celebrating, I was a mother, celebrating all the holidays, I think maybe at the age of 20, because my first birthday, I think since being out of the organization, was when I turned 20. And I was able to, celebrate my birthday. Happy birthday, I turned 20. Hold on. And then when I turned 21, oh yeah, I went to my first club, which was Heroes. Some people may know about Heroes that listen to my YouTube if you're from Chicago. And that was the first place that I went to right before I turned, about a month or so before I turned 21. And of course, it was exciting because I was young and I just was doing, again, like I said, doing what I wanted to do. And what this religion does to people, I'm going to tell you what it does. It either leads you away from God, it either leads you to a destructive life, it leads you to make horrible decisions, bad choices. It leads you to, some people, that leave the organization, they commit suicide. Thank God that I never felt like that. because I love myself too much. But I always had a desire, I always had a want to know who God was. I always had that desire. And so, uh, again, like I said, I think my next video I'm going to talk about the what it is that we all have an inkling, or God puts a we all have a void in our lives. We have a void in our lives, and we need that void to be filled. And when that void is not filled, we fill it with what we think it should be filled with, be it drugs, be it whoremongering, being a prostitute, uh, drinking, gluttony, just doing, you know, I got to go out all the time. It's just a lot of things that we end up doing to try to fill the void, dealing with the wrong person, opposite sex, dealing with somebody that's not, that don't really care for you, that's only there to use you and to get what they want out of a relationship. We make all kind of decisions that's just try to fill a void that we didn't get while we were even just being born. You try to fill a void, and I thought that void that I was feeling was the void of being in a religion, of being in the Jehovah's Witness religion. And then once I got out of that, I kept trying to fill that void. I did this, did that, but the only way that void is because God give us that. God puts that in us so that we can want Him in our lives. And so I believe that's what's gonna be my next topic, about how I finally got free from being involved in the organization. I mean, even though I was disfellowship at the age of 19, I still believed it was the true religion. All of the years that I was in the world, as they say, and doing my thing, whatever, I still believed that the Jehovah's Witness religion was a true religion. And it had to be about, if I got disfellowship at 19, by the age of 30, 31 is when I, was actually realized that it was not the true religion. And so all of those years, I'm not gonna say wasted, but it was a learning years. And I'm just glad that I'm not in that, that religion anymore. And I do call it a false religion. I call it a cult because, again, I talked about brainwashing and witchcraft and mind games and blind, you know, just being part of something that doesn't give you the truth, but just continue to produce, what is it, zombies, if you want to call them, produce people that do the same thing over and over. You keep talking about the same thing over and over. There's no, uh, it's repetitive teaching, repetitive. There's no revelation. There's no new things learned. Well, that's what they used to call it, new things learned, when they would make up these rules as they go along, because at first they say you couldn't take blood, but then it turned out you could do parts, you could do plasma, you could do this, so it was just a lot of wishy-washy stuff that they were doing or deciding to make decisions about. And so my next video, I'm going to get more into um, what I did once I realized that the Jehovah's Witness organization was not the true religion. All right. So thank you guys. Thank you for those who are going to be watching the replay. Again, if you have any comments, you want to make inbox me or whatever, you just let me know, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. All right, everybody, you all have a good evening. Okay, bye.